Hello, my name is Cheryl Mack, and I'm with the Bridge Art Gallery. It is a vibrant art exhibition space that exists in Bayonne, New Jersey. I co-own the space with Christopher Mack. And so we're very excited to bring today's edition of Bridge Art Gallery Artist Conversation because we have the opportunity to chat with a phenomenal artist who is a Jersey born and raised Martryce Roach. So let's welcome this truly spectacular artist.
Hi.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
We're doing fantastic because, you know, we have an opportunity to chat about art. So what's better than to sit and gab about art all day?
Okay. I agree.
So while we're super excited to talk with Martryce Roach today is because we have the pleasure of hosting a solo exhibition of hers called Transcendence. Now, personally, Christopher and I are super fans of Martryce, and we were so excited to be able to host her art exhibition. But, you know, sometimes we want to get behind the curtain or peek behind the art and to actually talk to the artists about, you know, their whole creative process, techniques and materials that they use, but also just to get to know you a little bit better. So thanks for taking out the time to chat with us.
No problem, Cheryl. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
So let's just kind of dive right in. How did you first become interested in art?
So I've always been interested in art since I was a little girl. I grew up in a housing project in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And I remember walking around as a little girl looking at graffiti art. So graffiti was my first exposure to art. And I remember being fascinated with the way the different lettering was layered on top of each other and the different styles of writing and the different colors. And I always thought there was like a hidden language to it. So I also used to draw a lot with my Uncle Charles when I was a little girl. And I think that, you know, just the love of that quality time that I had with him made me develop a love for art. And so as I got older, I used to draw a lot and sketch a lot. And I started drawing portraits of people when I was in school. And then when I got to college, I started taking classes on Africana studies and learning about the Black arts movement. And I started learning about social justice, and it made me look at art in a completely different way, because you can take something, a message so powerful, and speak about issues so challenging and deliver it in such a beautiful way that it makes people want to learn more. It makes people want to understand what's going on. It makes people, you know, it makes it a little bit more palatable for people to receive. So that really opened me up about art.
Well, you know, now that you've kind of put into context why you became interested in art, I feel like your artwork just delivers on all of that. Because, you know, one thing that really attracted us to your art is its vibrancy, but also the emotion that it exudes when you're looking at it. And you want to know, okay, what's the hidden story, you know, behind here? So when did you first connect? Like, okay, I like graffiti. It speaks to me. I'm seeing colors. I'm doing portraits. But when did you say to yourself, okay, this isn't just something that I do, you know, when I have nothing else to do, but I'm an artist. Like I'm legit artist.
So I didn't say it to myself. A friend of mine said it to me. A friend of mine that I was working with, she collects art. And so she knew a little bit more about it than I did. And, you know, she would see me sketching and doodling just because I love to do it. And she kind of put the battery in my back and said, you know what, this is good. You should show this to people. You know, this is not something ordinary. You're not just sketching and doodling. I think you really got something here. And so a friend of mine, he was throwing a show. He curated an exhibition in New Brunswick. And since I was from New Brunswick, he invited me to be a part of it. And that was my very first art show. And my work was received so well. You know, it was a surreal experience because, you know, your first time, you don't know how people are going to receive your work. And I ended up selling a piece and getting some really good feedback. And I think that solidified it for me. At that moment, I was like, yeah, I'm an artist.
And did you feel like, okay, this is my life's calling, and I was afraid to kind of step into my purpose?
I don't think I had the insight at that moment to know that it was my life calling. It wasn't until later. I did a lot of portrait work initially. You know, I would do commissions, take on commissions and do portraits for people. And I had all of these ideas in me that I wasn't able to get out because I was obligated to this schedule of commission work. And when I decided to stop doing portraits and to just let my imagination go crazy, and the stuff that just started to flow out of me, and the messages that I was able to portray through my art, and how I was able to speak through my art, I think at that point I realized, you know, there's a purpose in this. I have a platform, you know? So it wasn't until a little bit later.
Okay. So how long ago was that first New Brunswick show?
That was 2012. So 8 years ago.
Okay. And so how are you, how is your confidence level different now than it was in 2012?
My confidence level. I've gotten so much positive feedback that I'm sure people love something about my work. But you know, it's interesting because sometimes my imagination can be a little weird. So sometimes when I create pieces, I'm a little unsure how people are going to receive them, if people are going to understand them. But it's fun to see how other people interpret some of my pieces sometimes, because I can set out with an intention, you know, to portray a certain message and a certain vibe, and then other people looking at it based on their background and their experiences can see something totally different. And so I don't know. I think it's just a fun experience.
Yeah, one thing that, you know, I always say is that every artist has a tribe. No matter what style of artist that you are, or the subject matter that you like to, you know, portray, or the messages you like to portray in your art, everyone has a tribe. And that's the beautiful thing about art, is that you can find your tribe, but you have to just keep putting your art out there until you're actually able to connect with your tribe, who sees what you see. But then also, you know, sometimes there are artists that put out work, and, you know, people see something in their art that they didn't initially see themselves, and then it can take you in a whole other kind of, you know, creative trajectory. But I know I see beauty in all of your work, and I see myself, I see, you know, my daughter, my family members, my friends that I know, my friends I haven't met yet. I see all of that in your art. So let's do a little deeper dive into, you know, what is your creative process?
Okay, so pastels are a little unforgiving, right? I work with pastels. So I like to sketch everything out. I usually get an idea and decide how I want to map it out and sketch it out on paper, and then I start with the color. You have to be pretty deliberate with pastels, because you can't just, you know, like with paint, you can paint and then let it dry and then paint over it a different color if you want to switch it up. It's not very easy to layer pastels like that. So you have to kind of be deliberate with your process. So everything has to kind of be planned out ahead of time.
So, you know, you have mastered pastels in a way that I've never seen anyone master it. And your work has so much depth to it. How did you decide on pastels being your medium of choice?
Um, I just, as soon as I was introduced to pastels, I just kind of stuck with it. I just loved it from the get-go and just never moved past it to a different medium. When I was sketching, of course, I used pencils and I used charcoal. So when I started using pastels, it was like a logical transition to an introduction to color because it's the same, technique pretty much. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I just, I guess I'm a creature of habit. I picked up the pastel and kept it in my hands.
Well, let's take a journey on some of your beautiful pastels through a virtual tour of Transcendence, which is your art exhibition that we're featuring virtually here, but we will host a physical show in the gallery. So
All
let's
right.
take everyone on a journey.
Okay.
All right. So this is Transcendence. Let's go to the first piece. Technology and COVID has us all doing things that we've never done before. All right. So your work, Martryce, is just incredible. One
Thank
thing
you.
that I've said before is that I love how it conveys, emotion. Like, just looking at your work and, the level of detail that you're able to achieve with pastels is just absolutely, incredible, and the
Thank
vibrancy.
you. Thank you so much.
So you mentioned that you do sketch everything out, beforehand, but do you find that as you're going through the process of, creating the work that you'll make, either minor or major adjustments while you're actually transferring it from the sketch to the actual work using the pastels?
Mm-hmm. Minor adjustments, yeah. And sometimes I make color changes at the last minute. I may have planned to use a red and I end up using a yellow instead, but pretty much the lines and the bones of the piece
Mhm.
stay the same throughout the process.
So this is the cover art that we used in to promote the show because this particular piece, spoke so much to both Christopher and I. Can you tell us a little bit about this piece and the inspiration behind it?
See, and then this is what I mean when I said, my art gets a little weird sometimes.
Mhm.
During quarantine, when COVID first hit, I was watching a lot of Animal Planet. And I was watching a lot of YouTube videos on like insects and ocean life and just geeking out on things like that. And I went down this rabbit hole of content on bees. And I was so fascinated because bees are so smart and mathematical. And just the way that they form their little honeycombs is just, it's pure genius when you really get into it. And so I just started thinking it made me hopeful because I'm like, if our creator can put so much genius in something as tiny as a little tiny bee, I know we can figure COVID out. I know we
And
can do this.
absolutely.
Yes.
And so what is the so you were watching, in our kind of COVID quarantine cocoon, a lot of Nature Channel, Natural Discovery, and finding out more about bees. So when you were creating this piece, what was the inspiration behind using the brother, to me, who just looks so soulful and so woke, as well as, peaceful and tranquil all at the same time?
It I think the look on his face is it comes from my hope because I was thinking about how smart bees are and how intelligent they are and how much more intelligent that we are than those little tiny bees. And I started thinking about the researchers and the biologists and medical professionals who are legit heroes right now, working tirelessly to, try to figure this thing out for us. And I was feeling hopeful. I was feeling hopeful that they're really gonna figure this out and we're gonna be okay. And I think that translates to the look of peace on his face, that feeling that we're gonna be okay. They're gonna figure it out.
Okay. I love this piece. This may not make it on the wall, may make it on the wall as a red dot, but I'll let you know. And again, just your incredible level of detail as well as emotion. Are you a jazz lover? This is called Quarantine Jazz.
I love jazz. I love music. I always wish that I could be a musician. I didn't get that talent. But I love music. I'm so fascinated, especially live music, because I like to see how the instruments come together and, and dance together. I love it.
So is this one another inspiration from watching the Animal Planet and Discovery Channel?
Yes, most definitely.
So when I first saw this piece, Quarantine, I was immediately drawn to it because, and again, this is just my initial emotion is that, while we were quarantined, it seemed to, although we were isolated, it seemed to enhance our sense of community. That even though we were in our own kind of little protective cocoons for our families, our multi-generational families, but I also felt even more so connected to my community of friends, my community of family, my neighbors. And that is that's the initial emotion that I felt when I looked at this particular piece. What was obviously COVID and us being, in home isolation, quarantine, because of the title, but what messaging was behind your inspiration in developing this piece?
That's it, Cheryl. You got it. That is it exactly. I remember the news stories when COVID first hit, when you would see people hanging out of their windows and singing together and hanging off their fire escapes and waving, just trying to grasp on and hold on to that sense of community. And it made me think, it's crazy because some people don't really have an apartment building to hang out of. Some people don't have a home to come home to. Some people don't have access to medical care. Some people don't have access to, they stay home, wear a mask, wear gloves. Some people don't have access to those things, just the basic, simple things that we can afford to keep ourselves safe. And it's crazy to think that some people just can't afford safety. And so now more than ever, I think that sense of community is important because those of us who are privileged and do have and can share should definitely be sharing and making sure that those around us are okay. Reaching out to the people in our neighborhoods and making sure our neighbors are okay, that they have the things that they need, if we're able to.
And even just calling people, just to let them know that, just because we're, on home confinement doesn't mean that we can't still be socially connected to one another, because we're human beings. We thrive on that connection with one another. And, just to call and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. What's going on? How are you doing over there? Or, do a video call when you would have normally just, picked up the phone or to text a person, but just actually call them or video chat with them, because we being socially distant doesn't mean being socially disconnected. And that was really important for us to make sure that we stay connected with our community beyond, texting or, sending a Facebook message, but to say, hey, let me see your face. Let me see what you're doing. Let me hear your face. Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely
Let me look,
important.
let me look at your beautiful art. So I noticed with your art that there's many different themes to it. How has your art kind of evolved as you've kind of gone deeper down the rabbit hole of being a professional, fabulous artist?
Aw, these compliments are just making me smile from ear to ear.
I'm not
I
trying to gas
appreciate
you. I'm only speaking truth.
that. So, how has it evolved? Like I said, when I first started out, I did a lot of portraits. And
Okay.
I was getting bored with just plain backgrounds. So I would start interviewing people and finding out about what their actual backgrounds were like. And nobody has a straight life. Everybody has like curves and twists and all these stories. And when you really listen to people and you turn their stories into art, it makes for a magical visual. So I think I carried that with me when I started creating pieces from my own imagination. I would just make sure I would just incorporate all types of twists and turns and loops and make it as crazy as possible. Um, and I think that I think you see that in my work. It's kind of dreamlike. It has like a
Okay.
dream quality to it.
So is this like a little, kind of sneak peek into your brain and how your brain works and what you see and how you see the world?
Yeah, especially these pieces. For some reason, I had a fascination this year with abandoned environments and just boarded up houses and rust and old architecture. When buildings are old, they get painted over and resurfaced and things. And then when they're left alone for a long time, those layers start to wear away.
Right.
And when you look at the different layers coming through, you can kind of imagine stories and wonder, what it was like 50 years ago in this community and things like that. So I've just been really fascinated with environment. And so you get to see a little bit of that in the art. I also am fascinated with giving human characteristics to animals and objects and things like that. So you see some of that. That's why you see a lot of the pieces have fish smoking and things like
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
And so this particular piece also is, like I can't just pick one and say, oh yeah, this is my favorite piece of Martryce's. It's like, oh, I like this one. Oh, I really like this one. Oh, I like this one too. But this, if you can dream it, like this spoke to me a great deal as well because of, you know, the young man and, kind of forward vision. So when you were creating this particular piece, what was your inspiration and what did you want to convey?
It's all about vision. You hit the nail on the head. I was creating a series around the idea of art as a travel experience. Have you ever looked at a piece of art and just stood there and stared at it and it just took you somewhere else?
Oh, yes,
That
absolutely. Especially when we went in looking at, a lot of Van Gogh's pieces, especially like at different time periods, because, like, especially like, some of his work where I'm just like, wow, like where did he see this? Where, you know, what was outside his window or his environment that inspired this kind of level of detail and emotion? Or yeah, absolutely.
Right. It just makes you start thinking all types of questions and you just start imagining all types of possibilities. And that happens to me whenever I look at art and whenever I listen to music. And so I created pieces like this around the idea that art is a travel experience in and of itself. And it can be a door or a gateway to accessing new experiences. And like you brought up vision boards are trending right now, right? For good reason, because If you can visualize something and you write that thing down, or you put it on a vision board and you set goals, you can absolutely achieve those things. So if
Mhm.
you can dream it, which is the name of this piece, you can absolutely achieve it. So this is just showing this young man dreaming, of traveling the world, and there's his door. His imagination is his door.
And it's he just seems ready too. Like, I got my travel clothes on. I'm ready to, like, just, just ready, hit, set, go.
Right.
So, who are some of the artists that you're inspired by?
Oh man, I like a lot of local artists. Um, and you know what? To be honest, my biggest inspiration comes from musical artists. Like I mentioned, the Black arts movement earlier. That wasn't just a visual arts movement. People like Nina Simone are really inspirational to me. Um, I really, really, really get a lot of motivation from music.
Do you find that when you're actually creating that there are certain things that you have to have in your environment in order to create? And if so, what does that consist of?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm creating, there's definitely some music playing.
Okay.
Absolutely some music playing.
So we've taken everyone through the Transcendence virtual art exhibition, which is available on the bridgeartgallery.net website. But we will also have this exhibition in the gallery for viewing in a couple of weeks. And you can actually come by with your mask on and be able to see this beautiful exhibition in person and be able to meet the artist and chit chat with her from a nice, safe distance with your mask
Right.
on. But we wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to chat with you about the show, your inspiration with your artwork, your technique. As I said before, you're an artist that, to me, has mastered the use of pastels, and representation is so important. And you exude Black girl magic, and in your art, your art conveys Black girl magic and Black boy joy all day, every day. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm telling you, I
So,
need to make an affirmations video. I need to listen to it every morning. Girl
you
affirmations.
know, honestly, Christopher and I feel like, the luckiest people on the planet because, what better way than to be able to look at art, beautiful art all day long and be able to promote, such talented people and, to let the world know far and near that there's incredible talent that exists, in New Jersey, and to be able to showcase artists like yourself that, are extremely talented. So, what do you have planned for yourself and for the rest of 2020 besides our art exhibition, but also going into 2021?
So I plan to keep creating. I plan to create some new art before the year is over. And I started a new YouTube channel because I
Okay.
wanted to expand my audience and try to reach a market of younger online collectors.
And so, how can people stay connected with you? How can they, track what you're doing and make sure that they're in the Martryce Roach universe?
So I have a website. My website is www.martryceroach.com. You can look at my work. You can purchase limited edition prints. and you can see what events I have going on. I have this show here with Cheryl and Chris Mack at the Bridge Art Gallery. And then I also have another show where I'm exhibiting 5 other pieces at the Moody Jones Gallery in Glenside, Pennsylvania. And all of the information about what I'm up to, what I'm creating is all on my website, www.martryceroach.com.
Okay. We have that scrolling at the bottom of this video. Also, what are your social media handles in case anyone wants to connect with you on social media?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Martryce the Artist, Martryce, the Artist, Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Martryce Roach, for sharing all of your beauty through your art and your personality and just your overall fabulousness. And we're, excited to offer a visual gallery for your art exhibition on the bridgeartgallery.net website. And we can't wait to welcome everyone, including yourself, to the Bridge Art Gallery for a physical celebration of the Transcendence art exhibition. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And this is Cheryl Mack signing off with the fabulous Martryce Roach. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.